Am I the a-hole for feeling betrayed by my husband's lie and for refusing to hand over the daughter I raised as my own? I, 36 female, have been with my husband, 43 male, for 12 years. Together, we share an 11-year-old son, and we've also been raising his daughter, 12 female. When I first got pregnant with our son, my husband suddenly told me that he already had a daughter from a previous relationship. He was vague with the details, but when I did the math, the timing didn't sit right with me. His daughter had been born not long after we got together. My immediate assumption was that I must have been the other woman, that I had helped break up an existing family. I carried that guilt for years, believing I was some kind of homewrecker who had ruined another woman's life. And the whole time, he never once corrected me or gave me clarity. Because of that guilt, I threw myself into being the best stepmother I could possibly be. I was only 24, terrified and unsure of myself, but I did everything I could to make sure this little girl felt loved and cared for. Over the years, she became my daughter in every way that mattered. I've done the day-to-day parenting for over a decade, taking her to doctor's appointments, helping with homework, planning birthdays, drying her tears, and tucking her into bed at night. She has always called me mom, and I've never drawn a line between her and my biological son. If anything, I've worked harder to make sure she never felt different. My husband, on the other hand, has always been more invested in our son. He loves his daughter, sure, but the bond has never been the same. I stepped up where he often stepped back, and I accepted that role because I love her. Then a few months ago, cracks started to show. His younger sister, 26 female, suddenly re-entered our lives after years of very low contact. From the beginning, I noticed she was unusually attached to my daughter. She hovered around her, made odd little comments, and there were tense silences whenever certain family members were in the room. At first I brushed it off, but the feeling that something wasn't right kept growing stronger. Finally, I confronted my husband. That's when he confessed the truth. His sister is actually my daughter's biological mother. She had her at 14, and because she was so young, my husband stepped in to raise the baby as his own. And instead of telling me the truth when I came into the picture, he chose to let me believe I had been the other woman because it was easier. For over a decade, I have carried shame and guilt for nothing, a lie that he allowed me to live with. Now his sister is engaged and in a stable relationship, and she has started saying she wants her daughter back. My husband's response? A casual, maybe it's for the best. Meanwhile, my daughter knows something is wrong. She overheard us arguing and had a full meltdown, sobbing and begging me to tell her that I'm her mom. I reassured her, because to me there is no difference between her and my son. She is my child in every way that matters. And yet, it feels like my husband and his family see me as disposable. Like the 12 years I've poured into raising her don't matter. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to just step aside and let his sister take back the girl I have raised as my own? Edit. My husband is not the biological father. Now for the top comments. You never wondered who and where this child's mother was? In 12 years? Of course I wondered, but he was always vague and brushed me off. At the time, I honestly thought I was the other woman, so I carried guilt instead of asking more. Over the years, I just focused on being her mom. I never imagined the truth would be this crazy. So when you registered her for school, you didn't take her birth certificate? You've never taken any legal action to have parental rights to this child? Again, in 12 years? Yes, we had to give her birth certificate for school and doctors, but my husband signed everything. I never got legal guardianship because I trusted him to handle it. Most of her official paperwork stayed with her grandparents at first since they didn't really trust me, so I was kept away from that stuff. I advise you to go straight and get legal advice. You may not have parental rights by law, but in the best interest of your daughter, which she is emotionally, you have brought her up and she sees you as mom. You have proof that your sister-in-law abandoned her child and has not been back since. Also, the judge will take into account what your daughter wants. While you're there, get the divorce started. Your husband's a nasty a-hole who has been dishonest and subjected you to mental cruelty by letting you carry the guilt. Good luck, honey. I agree with everything here, but want to point out that divorcing the husband could affect her ability to get custody of the daughter. which is why she should start that after her daughter's taken care of, not before, and certainly not during. Next story. Am I the a-hole for reporting my ex and her husband to the police for stealing my property? My ex-wife, 39 female, and I, 41 male, share custody of our 3 children, 16, 14, and 12, equally, and no child support is paid. Our marriage didn't end on the best of terms, and we communicate through an app only when required for the sake of the kids. She has since remarried and has a 15-year-old stepchild and a 13-year-old stepchild. Her husband and I do not speak either. We've had some issues with my ex keeping property that is mine if the kids have it on her time. It started with a cell phone. I gave our eldest my old phone when one of my ex's stepkids broke his phone. My ex then told our oldest they were keeping it at her house, and she refused to return it even when I went over there and asked. I was told she had every right to confiscate it. I followed up with an email, and she told me to get over it and that she would not hand it over. The next time, our daughter, 14, brought some of my tools into school with her for an assignment. But it was a custody exchange day, so she left my house but went home to her mom's. My ex believed it wasn't appropriate for her to have them, so she took them and refused to return them to me. Again, I got a written exchange as proof. This last time was with our youngest. I let him use an old iPod for a class assignment on recent old tech gadgets. Apparently, her 13-year-old stepchild had the same assignment on a different day, and she decided both should get to use it. I told her it was my property and she had to return it. I got another email exchange, and then I contacted the police. My ex gave the stuff back, but she lost her mind over me getting the police involved for petty stuff. She said I could have demanded it back after her stepkid used the iPod, and I told her she wasn't giving any of it back, and what I give for my kids is not for her stepkids. She brought up how more serious trouble could have come from it, and I told her it would be deserved because you cannot steal someone else's property. She told me it was just my spiteful side emerging because none of it was a big deal, or I never would have given them to my kids, which I think is the dumbest argument. The phone was because her stepkids broke our eldest's phone and she wasn't about to replace it. Our daughter needed tools for school, and it was only for school, and she wanted to return them to me, but her mom said no. Then the iPod was just for our youngest. I'm not here to help her stepkids in any way. My ex and her husband, and their mom, if she's still in the picture, can do that. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Next time she will think twice about stealing your property. Well, we can hope she does, but at least she's warned if she tries something like this again. You stole my stuff. I asked for it back. You said no. I went to the police and they came and got it because they didn't think it was petty. You broke the law, and this is what the police are for. If you disagree with them, the appropriate person to argue with is the judge. Not the a-hole. That phone incident makes me wonder how often her hatred for you is directed towards your kids. Talk to your kids. Make sure she isn't treating them badly. Their complaint is she allows unfair things to happen to them and there's nothing they can do about it. Like the phone being broken by these steps, and they've ruined other stuff too. Ex just expects them to deal, which has fractured her relationship with our kids a lot. Go back to court about custody. I can't imagine a judge allowing the kids to be treated this way. You would be the a-hole if you don't talk to a judge about this. A judge has let her get away with this. We were back in court 6 months ago over similar issues. Not with the stealing, but the issues with what our kids were expected to tolerate over there, and the judge insisted custody remain the same. With the police reports and your kids' testimonials that they are treated unfairly at mom's new place, it should be more evidence for the judge to allow you full custody. Keep trying. I know it's a long road, but it'll be worth it. Good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my wife got her daughter lunch, but not the rest of the kids? Today, I am 37. Was at home with my 2 kids, who are 7 and 4. My wife was out running errands with her daughter, who is 8. We've been a blended family for a while now, and it's not unusual for us to occasionally do things with our own kids separately. That's just part of how life works sometimes, and normally it's not an issue. So, while I was at home with my kids, my wife and her daughter were out picking up some random things we needed around the house. It wasn't like they were on a special mother-daughter date or anything like that. It was just errands. Eventually, they came back, and I helped unload the bags. But then I noticed something that immediately rubbed me the wrong way. My wife had stopped at Popeyes and brought back food, only for her daughter. My first reaction was basically, "What the heck?" She just looked at me and said, "What?" as if she didn't understand why I was confused. I asked her to clarify if the food was just for her daughter, and she flat out said yes, explaining, "The kids have eaten since time, so I got her food." That's when I tried to explain my side. I pointed out that, yes, all the kids had eaten earlier, but it had been the same amount of time for everyone. Why would you bring back food for only one child and not think to include the others? To me, that's the kind of thing that can really hurt kids' feelings. Imagine being 7 or 4 and seeing your step-sibling get fast food while you get nothing. It sends a message, whether intentional or not, that one child is being favored. At this point, we were both frustrated. I thought the situation was clearly messed up, while she totally disagreed. When I pushed it further, she eventually gave me a half-hearted, condescending sorry. But it was obvious she didn't actually feel sorry because she doesn't think she did anything wrong. From her perspective, she was just grabbing her daughter something to eat. From mine, it was unfair and inconsiderate to the other kids. Now I'm left wondering, am I overreacting? Am I missing something here? To me, it feels like a pretty simple thing. You don't bring one kid food and leave the others out. So am I the a-hole for being upset? Or is this as messed up as I think it is? Now for the comments. Did they eat out and this was leftovers? Or did she bring the food for the 8-year-old to eat at home? If you're home with the kids and it's time for them to eat, had you prepared something? It wasn't leftovers. She just brought it home just for her. I don't think the family is as blended as you think it is. Not the a-hole. It's one thing if they got food while out, it wouldn't be an issue. But to bring food home and not even reach out to you first to see if anyone wants anything is wrong. Not the a-hole. The only added question I would have is what time did they get home? I'd say 12 to 2. She's absolutely in the wrong. 2 to 3 a phone call. If it were after 3 p.m., I'd assume lunch was long since finished. Came here to say this. They grabbed food while out. No biggie. They brought food for one kid home. Biggie. I get buying her a treat during their outing, but bringing it home and eating it in front of the other kids, that's not really nice. They don't understand why. They just understand she got their sister something and not them, especially when she easily could have. It's not so much a special treat as a starter kit for sibling drama. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I insist my stepson be allowed to eat meat? Here's the thing. When my wife and I got married, we were both coming into the marriage as single parents. Blended families come with their challenges, but for the most part, we've managed fairly well. One of the bigger differences between us, though, has always been food. My wife is a vegetarian and has been raising her kids as vegetarian since birth. I've never had a problem with that. It's her lifestyle choice, and she's always been very consistent about it. After the wedding, my oldest son, who had grown up eating meat with me, decided he wanted to become a vegetarian like his step-siblings. Honestly, I didn't mind. The vegetarian food was already being bought and prepared in the house, and if he wanted to try it out, I figured why not? It wasn't a big deal to me. It wasn't going to hurt him, and I respected his decision. Fast forward to a few days ago, and my wife's oldest son suddenly announced that he's sick of being a vegetarian and wants to try eating meat. This time, my wife's reaction was the complete opposite of mine. Instead of being laid back, she categorically forbade him from eating meat. She said that after all these years, his body wouldn't even be able to handle it, and that it would make him sick. I tried to reason with her and suggested that maybe we could start him off small, like with chicken broth or stock, and see how his body reacts. That way, it wouldn't be a shock to his system. She was absolutely furious with me for even bringing it up. We ended up in a full-on argument. She told me in no uncertain terms that her kids are not eating meat under any circumstances, and that I needed to stay out of it. I pushed back and asked her why it was perfectly fine for my son to stop eating meat, but not okay for her son to start. She dismissed it by saying, "That's different." That really rubbed me the wrong way. I asked her, "Oh, because your lifestyle is morally correct and mine isn't?" She accused me of being an a-hole. And the conversation ended there. Meanwhile, my stepson is still adamant that he wants to eat meat. He keeps bringing it up, and I can tell he's serious. The smart part of me says I should just keep quiet to avoid further conflict, but the stubborn part of me wants to support him, the same way I supported my own son's choice. So, would I be an a-hole if I refused to drop this and stood by my stepson's right to make his own decision? Does anyone eat meat in your house? Perhaps you could suggest that you, wife and stepson, talk to his pediatrician to get more information before making any decisions. Base your decisions on facts, not emotions. My daughter and I eat meat, but not that often in the house. Usually we eat it at restaurants and such. Making meals for a large family is already a lot. Making separate meals is exhausting. Sometimes we have cold chicken in the fridge to snack on. Not the a-hole. Advocate for your son's health. Not everyone can tolerate vegetarianism. Don't drop this. Do you know why your wife is a vegetarian and raised her kids that way? She is a vegetarian for environmental reasons. Laughing out loud. I can guarantee that kid has been smashing the Big Macs for a while now. He's just finally worked up the courage to bring it up with his mom. No need to start with chicken stock, my friend. That's my thought. He's been eating meat for years via his friends' lunches, sleepovers, going out, etc. He just wanted to start eating it at home too, like the OP probably has been, and is tired of all the vegan foods. Agreed. You don't start a fight over wanting to try meat. You do it when you've been tried it and are ready to eat full time. And she will be so surprised and hurt when her relationship with her son deteriorates because she is not respecting his autonomy. He's gonna eat meat. There are too many opportunities between school, social activities, and even household food. She can't possibly think she can control this forever. Even if he waits till he's 18 and out, he's still gonna do it. And he'll end up resenting her for not respecting his boundaries. Boundaries are for one to place upon oneself. I will not allow you to do XYZ to me and will remove myself from your presence if you do. You don't get to force them on others. You will not do XYZ or I will punish you. And it's immoral to try to impose your personal morals on the unwilling. If her attitude is it's her kid and her call, remind her this hands-off approach means you won't be ratting him out to her either. You will be strictly neutral in this. Not the a-hole. I see parents do this all the time. Inflict their beliefs on their adolescent kids when they should be encouraging independence and freedom of thought.